I have a really hot temper. Not a lot of people know this, but it's just something in my family. I've seen it in my grandmother. Saw it in my grandfather, to my grandmother, to my mom, to my aunts, to me, right? But I didn't notice it in myself until I was with Jeezy.
Interesting. You didn't notice in your previous marriage?
No, because it has to do with the type of relationship you have and the type of respect you have for that person to mirror things back to you, where you actually would stop you in your tracks and evaluate yourself. You know,
Jeezy have female friends that he would just go to dinner with, like one-on-one?
Jeezy do not play like that.
Okay, so in a very horrible twist of events, long story short, in the Jeannie and the Jeezy and the Jeannie Mai saga, basically Jeannie has now brought to the table in her divorce proceedings that Jeezy was allegedly abusive. Okay. And so here we have some of the court documents that are explaining the quote unquote, alleged abuse that she entailed during her marriage. And I don't know if you guys remember, but basically in the divorce proceedings, it states that if there was any kind of infidelity, that there would be a clause that she would get some of the money. But I think now that she tried to run with that, and I don't think that necessarily worked or panned out how she planned it to. Now she is using this as some ammo to try to get back at him and to try to fight. I don't know if this is necessarily for the full custody of their child or whatever the case is, but I'm going to read some of this and then I'm going to give you guys my opinions on it after. So it says, in truth, the safety and well-being of the minor child while in the care and custody of father has been of utmost concern to the mother since she first learned the father was seeking a divorce. Due to father's past outbursts of physical violence and verbal abuse against mother and his eldest son, mother has had valid concerns as to father's ability to appropriately parent a small child. Father also has documented issues with explosive outbursts, excessive drinking, and domestic violence perpetuated against mother and his eldest son, which would be Jeannie and which would be mother is considered to be Jeannie. His eldest son is his child that he's had prior to knowing Jeannie. Father's mixture of concerning attributes, along with his penchant for leaving bullets and assault weapons laying around, have given mother reasonable concern for the party's minor child's well-being, and why mother has insisted upon father securing his weapons. By way of example, on January 18, 2022, in Miami, while the couple were talking in a parked car, father requested for the driver to step outside the vehicle and then began to berate mother. He hurled insults such as, "You whore," and "I can't wait to divorce you when we get back." Father held mother against her will inside of the vehicle, and during the course of her trying to escape the vehicle, father struck mother with a closed fist across her cheekbone and eye, causing a hemorrhage. That week, father and mother contacted their pastor and therapist for counseling in regard to the domestic violence perpetrated by father. Okay, so before we move on to the next document, I just want to get into this, okay? Because in reading this, I actually know exactly the reason why she's bringing all this up. So right after the divorce proceedings started to happen, and she wanted some kind of payment or whatever, and she realized that she wasn't going to be able to get it based off of claiming that he cheated on her, claiming, the infidelity clause. She also claimed that she signed the prenup, but she never read it. Foolishness. Okay, just foolishness. Jeezy, made a chess move in that he decided to file for full custody of his child. Now, let me tell you something. I can only be honest. I can only be 100% authentic. I can only be real about both sides of this situation. And I can fully, fledged say that Jeezy filing for full custody of his child, knowing that he has other children and this is Jeannie's only child, He had already filed for divorce. There was no situation where it seemed that this child was going to be unsafe in Jeannie Mai's care. I think that he was absolutely wrong for that. I got to be honest. I think that he was 100% wrong to take this child away from her mother when she was not even in that place with the divorce proceedings. I can understand if you want to fight for joint custody. I can understand if you want to make sure that you guys are both able and that she doesn't become vindictive in the fact that you can't see your child at all. But I think in trying to fight for full custody of her only child, just, I don't know what the reasoning behind that. I don't know what his mentality was, but to do that, it is going to stir the pot. Now, we heard in her interview before she even had the child, this is when she was pregnant and she had just married Jeezy, that she said that she had anger issues and she did not know, or she was not aware of these anger issues until she got into the relationship with Jeezy. Okay? So if this is even any inclination of the reason why they got divorced, which I strongly believe it was the two of them combating, it was that dragon that she said she had to tame, and it was all that drama. I think, once you guys once there is no dog in the fight, the relationship is over. Now there's nothing for her to try to save or patch up with you. I think now stirring the pot and causing all this stuff is going to be a fight between the two of them. Now that you guys can't legally touch each other or argue with each other or throw things at each other, now it's going to be a legal fight. In the court, attorney against attorney, and everybody just starts getting petty. The one thing that I want to say is that I found it very interesting that she said that they were in the car. First of all, all of this stuff when you were married to him was not your concern. Any type of weapon that he had in his home, the verbal or whatever, the outbursts that he had against his child, that's not your child. By the way, I also never heard, the mother of this child come out and speak up and say anything or agree to anything that you're saying within this document. Because that's her child. Wouldn't she also want the best for her child? Wouldn't she speak out against any harm being done to her own child? I think it's a little bit petty for you to be bringing up somebody else's child in your divorce proceedings when that child has nothing to do with you. Okay? I think that's a little bit disrespectful to the mother, and it makes it seem like the mother is not doing her job. That's just me being really honest. That's a whole nother conversation. But also, all of the things, his drinking, all these things were never a problem when you guys were in your marriage and you guys were living together. All of a sudden, it becomes a big issue when you no longer are under the same roof. I find that very interesting. Okay? I find that very, very interesting. That all of a sudden you have all these complaints about the stuff he got in the house and how it's an unsafe environment, but you were living there with your child. And it was safe for the both of you at the time. How convenient that now you guys are, going through this custody battle, that all of a sudden all this stuff comes to the forefront and all of a sudden you feel unsafe. Just like it was very convenient, the fact that you said that you didn't read the papers of your prenup. That's very convenient. Let's talk about this incident that happened on January 18, 2022. They said that they were in the car and they had the driver step out the car and the two of them got into some kind of argument and he called her a whore. We're not even going to get into why he called her that. Okay? Because to me, you starting to open the door to things that don't make sense. Because why did he say that? What was his reasoning behind saying that to his wife and the mother of his child? What happened that made him say that? Because now you're sending us down the road to make us kind of question your fidelity within the relationship as to why he would say that. The next thing I thought was interesting was she said that he said in the car, "I can't wait to divorce you when we get back." So he said to you, I can't wait to divorce you when we get back. But then you said that you were shocked on social media when you found out that you were divorced. Why would you have been shocked if he had told you that in the car during this argument? There's a lot of holes that are now starting to come into this equation. Okay, let's read the next one. The next one says, on April 14th, 2022, at the San Francisco Ritz-Carlton, father choked mother from behind as she was ascending the stairs, and subsequently father pushed mother down the stairs, calling the attention of the hotel security guard stationed in the lobby. Father proceeded to verbally assault mother, calling her a B word and repeating, I can do so much better than you. Security intervened and provided the mother protection after she repeatedly stated she felt unsafe, as detailed in the Ritz-Carlton incident report. This is wild. Okay? Let me just keep reading. I'm gonna tell you everything I feel. Okay. So this was in April. In April, they went to the Ritz-Carlton. They got into some kind of altercation again, allegedly. And I don't know if he grabbed her by the back of her neck, and she was referring to that as a choke. I don't know if he had two hands around her neck and that was referred to the choke. I'm not really sure. Now it says in December of 2022, at the UNCF 39th Atlanta Mayor's Mass Ball, mother went to the restroom with her friend. Father became enraged as he did not know mother's whereabouts for 25 minutes. In response, father abruptly demanded that the two leave the party. Once in the vehicle, father asked the driver to exit and began to verbally abuse mother. Mother attempted to exit the vehicle 2 times, and on the second time, father grabbed mother by the neckline of her dress, so he draped her up. Okay, so he grabbed her by her dress line like this. And he said, sorry, my hair is wet, so it's like wetting on my shirt. And it resulted in the dress being torn and multiple 2 to 3 inch scratch across her right breast due to father's fingernails. Mother reported this incident to her therapist with father present, and also told her best friend in confidence. Okay. I'm going to wait to get to the Ritz-Carlton thing because we actually have the report from the witness of what happened at the hotel. So I'm going to wait for that one. But for the December incident, the one thing that I have to say is that I do not support anybody putting their hands on anybody. Okay? I don't care what the situation is. I don't care, the magnitude of how upset you get. I don't care if somebody said something about your mama. I do not agree with anybody putting their hands on anybody. I don't care if you're a woman putting your hands on your man, and especially if you are a man putting your hands on a woman. I do not agree. I think that we should have the emotional intelligence enough to walk away from situations that do not serve us. We should have a light going off in our head that says, Mayday, Mayday, there's trouble going on. Once your blood is boiling to the point that you feel that rage, that there's anything that can happen at that point, that any game can play, and it would behoove you to act accordingly in that situation. It would behoove you to walk away, to separate yourself, to step back from that situation. It would be in your best interest to say that I am not going to engage in any kind of foolishness because I know what can happen. Saying all of that, I also have to say this. I find it interesting that with all of these arguments that she is bringing up, it is only supposed to be about the safety of her child. I find it very interesting that in all these altercations that she is bringing up, there has never been anything that she has said that she has also done in the situation that she added to the altercation. She is not making it seem like there is an argument between the two of them. She is making it seem like this man just started acting a fool out of nowhere. But mind you, in the beginning of this video, she said that she has anger issues and she did not know until she was in a relationship with this man. I think it's wrong to paint a picture of a one-sided situation when there is a strong possibility that the two of y'all was acting a fool, and that you're only bringing it up because you're using this as the in my personal opinion, this is like a feminist movement of, I can always use this to my advantage. I can always play the victim as a woman. I can always use me being the weaker vessel as my gameplay in a court. And I'm going to even say this, right? In this, I only bring up race when I have conversations if I find it or deem it necessary. I do not believe that Jeannie Mai is using all this stuff to play as a race card. I don't think so. I think that this is a feminist card that feminist women use in their defense. Because we've seen Neo's baby mamas online talking all kind of foolishness, and they are black women talking about a black man. I do not believe that it has anything to do with that. I think that she is just, showcasing her vindictive nature, that I can use these cards. I could use my victim nature. I could use me being the smaller vessel to get what I want. Because I have to also say, from what was the first incident? January 2022. The worst situation was in April 2022. How were y'all still together in December 2022? If it was so bad, if you were so afraid, if you felt so unsafe, if you were so worried about your well-being, how did y'all go from January, when this stuff started, to December? This is not like it's some young folk, right? It's not like these are some young bucks, some rookies in the game, 20s, early 20s, trying to figure out what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. These are some grown 40-year-olds. From January, the next big altercation was April. April was a huge one. This was public. Now we talking about December. Let me read to you guys this incident report. Ooh, it's small. Okay, let me see if I can make it bigger for you guys. You know what? I think I'm going to have to read this one off my phone because that is really small. Okay. This says, LP Base received a call in regards to a domestic dispute in the lounge bar at approximately 22:21. Lounge server stated that guest Mr. Jenkins had pushed Mrs. Mai Jenkins down the steps leading to the main lobby. I responded to the call, and upon arrival, I noticed Mr. and Mrs. Jenkins arguing. I approached the guest and continued to sit on lobby bar area and requested 5 minutes to discuss things alone. After giving the time, I spoke to both guests, telling them that they needed to continue their conversation elsewhere because it was disrupting other guests. Guests moved to hallway and continued their conversation. Mr. Jenkins requested I get his 4 Louis Vuitton bags from room, and as I was in the process, I was called back to assist due to Miss Jenkins beginning to raise her voice, resulting me to have to put the luggage retrieval on hold. Mr. Jenkins requested to go outside and get some fresh air to talk. Mrs. Jenkins also had previously stated she felt unsafe being alone with him and requested I was nearby. Guests talked near valet office and then moved themselves to the front desk where Mr. Jenkins got another room key to retrieve the rest of his belongings. Mr. Jenkins continued to try to press the issue of wanting to converse with his wife, but due to Mrs. Jenkins' comment stating she was done talking, I told Mr. Jenkins he needed to willingly walk away from the situation or I was going to have to call the police. Both guests went up to the room, but Mrs. Jenkins requested I came along because she still felt unsafe being with him by herself and wanted me to make sure she came out of the room unharmed. I escorted both guests and they continued their conversation in the room. Mr. Jenkins wanted me to wait outside, but I stated that I could not due to his wife's fear of her safety. After the conflict, Mr. Jenkins made me aware that he was getting another room and to have his personal belongings ready in the front desk for when he came down to pick up his new room key. I then spoke to Mrs. Jenkins and she said that she did not need any more assistance and Mr. Jenkins will come down to pick up his room key when he was ready. This is a witness. Okay, so this is a real incident report of what happened when she said in April of 2022. The reason why I find this extremely important is because I have to say this again. In January, they had a problem. In April, things got so bad that you did not want this person that you do not know, but somebody who worked at the hotel to leave your side because you felt so unsafe in this man's vicinity. Then you guys somehow fixed this issue, and in December, y'all had another problem. I love how this incident report is coming from somebody who announced that they were both having an argument. They were both to a certain level. Her voice was loud enough that he had to come over there and tell her, you need to come. I can't even finish what I'm doing because you're disturbing everybody. That the two people had a part to play in this situation. However, can we just talk? I want to talk about this with you guys in a real way, right? You see, the problem is that there's a lot of people who are in relationships and the relationships are toxic and they have a problem where they feel that you are supposed to be subjected to the toxicity. They're allowed to laugh, scream, argue, say whatever they want to. And a lot of times they're so used to toxicity that they get that toxicity up out of you. They'll say anything. They'll go for the jugular. They talk about all types of stuff because they want you to be able to be as enraged as they are so that they can now be the victim in the situation, even though they were the one who was antagonizing you to begin with. And I think that him filing for divorce, she was, blindsided, heartbroken, all that. I think a part of her was upset because she wanted him to maintain in the toxicity because she was willing to. I think that any time that you are in a situation where you are unable to control your emotions, or you have somebody who has no problem pulling certain emotions up out of you, or somebody who is constantly trying to get a rise out of you, there is no need for the two of you to stay in that relationship because it is now a safety hazard. It's now a very big safety hazard. Because if the two of you cannot amicably have a conversation of the way that you're feeling, of the way that things are going, of the way that things are being said, of the way that you are articulating yourself with your partner without it going to 100, this is an unsafe relationship for the two of you. Because it is not only putting your health at risk, it is also putting your freedom at risk. And the fact that, if you are in a public space and you can be so upset that you're going to push this person down to the ground, that means that you done lost it. Because you're not even thinking about the fact that other people can see you. Somebody could have had a camera that could have been on TMZ. You're risking your whole career. Over what? Foolishness? Some emotional problem? Hence why I believe he said, okay, no, I'm filing for divorce. We can't get it right. I'm not doing this. Because for us to keep saying and repeat and staying together and repeating the same cycle, it don't make no sense. Somebody has to say, I can't do this. There was also some text messages that came out. It was a bruise that she had on her leg and on her knee. And basically in the text messages, she was saying like, hey, baby, this and that. You know, this is June 2022. This is, after the incident at the Ritz-Carlton. Okay. This is all in June. So this is way after the incident of the Ritz-Carlton. They done kissed and made up. Everything was fine. Everything was cool. They still under the same roof. Apparently, she said that, that these bruises were basically based off of, some kind of altercation that they had. Jeezy came out and said that this particular incident had nothing to do with any kind of altercation. This was all about, some kind of golfing, that maybe they were golfing. I don't know if he hit her with the golf ball on accident, whatever. In the messages, she even said it was not intentional. I know it was an accident, but we do got to be more careful. I don't think you know your own just foolishness. Just foolishness. But in the same time, they have text messages of them two kissing each other. She's sending him pictures. It's just a toxic relationship on display. What we're seeing is the product of a toxic relationship being on display. Unhealthy environment. Unhealthy place to raise a child together. Yes, you can effectively co-parent, but raising a child under the same roof, under these conditions, it does not make any sense. That child is going to grow up and see this toxicity and then repeat the same cycle if it's not addressed. There are some people who are able to work through these things within their marriage. I know that to be true. There are some people who go through certain things within their marriage and they are able to get ahead of the issues and say, okay, I'm not going to make these decisions, or I'm not going to allow my anger to get the best of me. But the problem is that once a toxic cycle is created, it takes two very strong-minded people to come out of that cycle. Because what happens is that the two of you get into defense mode. And so it's so easy to continue that same thing. One person say something, the other person say something, one person say this, then you just go right back into the triggers. I honestly, strongly, feel that this is so horrible, especially for their child, because their child is going to grow up and be able to find out and see all of this information. I think it is also horrible that they are going to, certain degrees or certain levels, that they are pulling stuff out of their pocket just for the sake of, I'll get her. It doesn't have to be vindictive. I think showing the vindictive nature is showcasing, in my opinion, the actual problems within the marriage. That nobody's able to bend. Nobody's able to say, okay, you know what? Let's just be real. Let's just be amicable. Let's not fight. Let's not go there. Let's just say this. Okay, you know what? We both need to see our child. Since we both need to see our child, we both want to have this opportunity. Let's just talk, okay? Let's just get our attorneys together. Let's just figure out what's going to work for the best of us. Let's just figure out how we can both make this comfortable for the both of us, where our child is going to get the best benefit of this situation. Let's do that. Instead of, again, one person using, the feminist motive of, oh, let me pull all this stuff. It wasn't bad enough for me to leave. It wasn't such a hard situation where I felt that my safety was, in jeopardy when we all lived together, and when we had these pictures of us kissing together, and when me and my child lived with him, I didn't feel any kind of way, but now I do because he wants full custody. And the same for him. Let me fight for full custody. I done divorced her and did all this stuff. Let me fight for full custody. Let me get her where it hurts. Foolishness. Foolishness. This is sad how it's going down, especially how everybody saw the rise of this relationship and then the demise of it. But I think it's important that we talk about the intricate details within it, because there are real people in real life who are going through very similar things for real. Within their relationships, people who have toxic traits within the relationship, the toxic circle of everything that's going on, the drama, the tainting of, being in that cycle of, I'm gonna get you where you got me, and nobody's taking a step back and saying, like, we need to change this. This is unhealthy. We need to fix this. Because as bad as their situations were, the tussling, him draping her up by her shirt and all this, it could have got way worse. It could have gotten way out of hand. It could have been detrimental to somebody's health. And for what? I'd like to know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. I would love to hear you guys' opinions on this video. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And I will see you guys in the next one. Love you.